project is we're going to be announcing our first veteran partner and our first producer partner, and they've met the team, and now we're going to take them public here to kind of acknowledge their presence. But before we do all that, I want to save all that. Before we do that, I want to turn it over to Rick Thompson. He's going to give you those great cannabis headlines. Take it away, Rick.
Thank you, Mike. And hello, everyone. This is the Cannabis News with Rick Thompson on 420 Post. Let's get started. Well, Michigan's marijuana regulatory agency submitted to the state yesterday a request to adopt new rules. The request specifically mentions changes coming in reference to the 2008 Medical Marijuana Act, the 2016 Facilities Licensing Act, the 2018 Regulation and Taxation of Marijuana Act, and the Tracking and Testing Acts, too. This process is a regular event designed to give the regulatory agency an ability to write into law the language from relevant court decisions or directives from the governor or other official acts which change the cannabis rule set. Expected later this year is legislative action, which would usher in many permanent regulations, which might be detrimental to the industry. Most of that's inspired by the Michigan Cannabis Manufacturers Association. It was outlined in a new article from this week featured on the MERS News Service. It includes things like license caps, mandatory testing of caregiver product, establishing the illegality of Delta-8 THC, and imposing difficult-to-achieve performance standards for industry players. A draft version of the proposed rule set has not been delivered to industry representatives as of this broadcast. Michigan's roadside drug testing program is a huge failure, according to statistical data provided by news source MLive and state published statistics. The tests are wrong fully 25% of the time, but they're really wrong when testing for opioids and benzos. False positives on those substances being delivered 65% and 60% of the time, respectively. The $6,000 machines also delivered false positives in more than 30% of tests involving coke and amphetamines. Now, the false positive rate for detecting cannabis was only 5%, but that's still a failure rate which kills the test's scientific credibility. That's according to Lansing attorney Mike Nichols. And Nichols and I fought an earlier version of the roadside swab test in 2015. A different test was approved by a different legislature the very next year. The program will either be shelved or extended based on an act of the legislature coming up in 2021. There are no additional orders for the Sotaxa testing machines, but the state already owns 125 of them. Now, Facebook is an important tool for industry communication, we'd all agree, and not just the cannabis industry. One restaurant in downtown Detroit took to the social airwaves to send an important message. If you smell like pot, don't even think about stepping inside the Caucus Club. Now, you might think I'm being dramatic, but that's a word-for-word quote from the upscale eatery's owner. Oh, and he banned people wearing tennis shoes, hoodies, jerseys, and ball caps, too. The restaurant's just a short walk from the city's major sports and entertainment centers, including Ford Field, Tiger Stadium, and Fox Theater. The owner wants to establish, or rather reestablish, the pre-COVID former dress code standard of business casual at the least. The dress code's one thing, but they're really, really serious about being loud in the dining room. It'll be interesting to see how this plays out for them. And final story. The Hash Bash has gone virtual with a big broadcast planned for April 3rd, which is this Saturday. Speakers include the governor, the attorney general, House representative, and a senator, plus federal lawmakers, too. Heroes from all major sports will be included, and musical guests will be playing in studio as well. Tune in at noon on Saturday at the A2 Hash Bash page on Twitch, or the Ann Arbor Hash Bash page on Facebook, or join potentially millions of viewers on the pro-cannabis media's Roku and Amazon Fire Stick cable networks. There'll be possibly hundreds of people who will defy the virus and attend in person at the Diag on the campus of the University of Michigan as well. University officials took to media this week to reinforce the campus's no smoking or cannabis possession policy. We hope campus officials will keep a cool head about them this weekend. Remember, it's only a plant, and people are just expressing themselves, not denigrating the school or destroying society. Here's hoping that peace prevails on the Diag this Saturday. And that's it for the Cannabis News with Rick Thompson on 420 Post. Now, back to you, Mike.
Thanks, Rick. I'm not sure. I only live a mile and a half from the Diag, but I don't think I'm going to wander up there only because I also do a show on Monday where we have an epidemiologist who's always scaring the hell out of me about the COVID stuff. So I think this year we'll just pass on that. We'll watch the virtual event. It'll be much safer, right? But more power to them if they want to get out there and show the colors. Go for it, I guess, right?
Yeah, we'll have a live stream from the real event at Hash Bash, rather at the Diag. We'll be getting some reports from on scene, so we'll be able to keep everyone abreast of anything that might be going on that's untoward.
Yeah, I'm just a little concerned about Michigan. University of Michigan has its own police department. I'm just concerned that they're going to get real active this weekend. I don't know.
Well,
But
I
anyway,
hope not, but it's only 1 hour. They can tolerate it for 1 hour. Who cares?
Yeah, buck it up, right? All right, so now we've got the bird lady, Jamie Cooper, and I know the bird is right behind you there. No, on your lap. Now I see Coco. Okay, great. Coco is not going to speak today, but Jamie is, and she's going to tell you all about her cannabis community headlines.
Well, for those that you don't know, I do have a bird. I have a cockatoo who is usually with me every broadcast that I do. And yes, she is actually right behind me. You can't see because there is this filter, so you'll never know if there's a bird behind me or not. And Late Night with Seth Meyers said something about the Hash Bash this week. So it was awesome to see such a great event get that national recognition that it deserves, because there's a lot to celebrate. New York is legalizing cannabis. We definitely have a lot to celebrate here in our own state of Michigan. So it is Wednesday night, or it is Wednesday. It's not night yet, but every Wednesday we host our virtual speed networking event at 6:00 Eastern. You are all invited to join us. I want to see every one of you there because we like to have some fun. And the whole purpose of our weekly events is to bring everyone together on a consistent basis. We all have our own networks of people. And when we bring those networks together, it's a very powerful thing. We like to exchange some leads and help each other grow each other's businesses. Also, I wanted to let everybody know that we have finalized all of our plans for our 420 grab bag promotion that we're having. We are distributing 1,000 bags into 16 stores throughout the state. Mike, Rick, I'm definitely putting you on the list to go grab one of these bags. We have had 14 vendors donate products to the bags, cannabis products. We've also had Rob Rabar with Helping Friendly donate products as well. We have some swag items in there. It's packed full of lots and lots of goodies. So make sure on 420 you head to a participating location to go pick up your bag, because it will be worth the trip. I promise you that. And then, keep an eye out for our special 5th year anniversary edition of Cincy magazine for April. We started the magazine in 2016 in Denver and celebrating 5 years of awesomeness in each of our markets. So make sure you keep an eye out for that. The magazine should probably go live in the next few days, and I cannot wait to see it. Given a lot of these amazing brands that are here in Michigan, some love and a lot to celebrate this 420, that's for sure. Mike?
Thanks very much, Jamie. Now let's bring in Anton Harb Jr., who is our first veteran charity that we're going to be working with the Hero Project. I suppose I should set this up a little bit. You're all going, what the hell is the Hero Project? Well, it's an idea that we've been developing for about 6 months, where the cannabis industry, including the CBD industry and all that, would work with us to donate money to veterans' causes, charities, that sort of thing. And we've been kind of getting it all developed. We have a board now. We have 5 or 6 people on the board. We think we've got everything worked out. Setting up these companies is a lot more complicated than you think. And when it's a nonprofit, you have to be really careful, because the feds will come in and do bad things if they think you're doing bad things. So we think we got all that stuff covered. So Anton, I met online, a couple of weeks ago. I clued into his group. Now, I make sure I got it. It's Michigan Veterans for Cannabis Network, right? That's what it's called, Anton?
Yes, sir. That's correct. Yep.
All right, great. So, Anton, talk a little bit about your case history. You're a disabled veteran. I know you're a marijuana and CBD user. I know you're going to be working with Rob, who will bring in here shortly to develop some products for veterans or some of Rob's existing products. But let's talk about that whole thing. I mean, a lot of veterans, I don't know if you're suffering from it, have PTSD and other issues associated with their time in combat. And I know that you were saying when we chatted initially that using cannabis or CBD or whatever variations thereof has provided you personally with a lot of relief, right?
Yes, Mike. And I want to say thank you for having me on your show. Again, my name is Anton Harb Jr. I've been a Michigan resident for about 9 years, and I am a disabled veteran. I served as an artillery officer in the Army. I served in Iraq, in northern Iraq in 2005 during OIF 3. And I ended my time in the Army in 2007. And boy, I came home. I had a lot of problems. And I think at the time, they kind of creep up on you and you don't realize the horrors of war until you've actually had time to come back and realize that adjusting to the way we live here, it's never going to be the same again. And for years, my own personal struggles with post-traumatic stress disorder, and I have some other physical problems that I got from my time. And the only option were VA pills. It was you go to the VA, they give you a bag of pills, and that was the way you were supposed to solve your problem. Moving to New York, I'm originally from Buffalo, New York, but moving to Michigan, I discovered medical cannabis. And I mean, the first time I had actually smoked was my 30s. So I had never before tried cannabis prior to that. It was just never a thing I had gotten into. And boy, what a life-changing experience it really was. I found that I was able to ease my anxiety. I was able to eat a meal and enjoy it. There was just so many benefits that I had from becoming a medical patient in Michigan. And reality kind of struck me that the resources and the network involving veterans, be it just within our local caregiver community or within our licensed community, it's not really there. And it's something that I feel that veterans have a lot to offer to our industry, whatever level you're operating at. And so I started the Michigan Veterans for Cannabis Network as a way to bring veterans together through social networking. For a lot of veterans, it's just easier to connect through social media. With post-traumatic stress, we're withdrawn, symptoms of anxiety. We're not looking to hang around big groups generally. So it really works. And so I started this group about a year ago, and we have about 270 members now, I believe. And we have a mix of veterans, disabled, and non-disabled. We have a mixture of licensees that have chosen to participate, and just anybody who supports a veteran's right to use cannabis. We want to bring them into our group. And it was hard to decide what route we wanted to take it. So I kind of came up with a three-prong approach that I'm hoping to do this in. I want to offer veterans, support and savings within our licensee space, discounts and whatnot on product. We're aiming to bring some veteran employment opportunities, networking opportunities to veterans in need. And we're looking to provide a legislative social equity aspect to what we're doing. We're hoping to lobby our legislator on a bipartisan approach to have disabled veterans added to our state's social equity list as recipients, regardless of the location that they live in. So it would go basically upon, VA rating. And we've had tremendous support so far. We've had licensees reaching out. We've had shops put discounts in place for our veterans so they can come in and receive a break on the products that they're looking for. And just working with the Hero Project, trying to get our name out there. The one approach I really want to take with this, I want it to be a network. I don't want profits to be generated. I want people to do this because they want to do it. They believe that our veterans should be included. So I'm trying to find power within our network, and we're hoping to get the word out.
Yeah, certainly with the Hero Project, our plan is to give the lion's share of any of the donations to the veterans, but we want to do more than just feed veterans. Connie Sparrow's in our group. I know Jamie and Rick know Connie. And that was her idea. But we were debating how we were going to do this, and a lot of people give money to veterans group so they can buy food. Well, that's great. You got to eat, right? But beyond that, we want to get into training. For instance, veterans could be trained to work in farming of cannabis and hemp. Because it gets them outdoors, gets them into nature, and from what we've been reading on the research, that really helps them kind of settle their nerves and take care of some of the PTSD, maybe not all of it, but then the cannabis comes into that space that they can take it instead of opioids, right? And I'm sure that's what Anton was making reference to, and we know how bad the opioid crisis is right now. At some point, if we get this really cooking, we also want to provide housing for veterans, whether that be dormitory-style housing or more of a commune-style housing or something in between, but that's probably a year or two off. Initially, we just want to get, like I say, money into their hands so they can eat, get them some job training, and then kind of see where this goes. Then part of it is a very small part of what we're going to be collecting will go then towards for all the promotional and administrative costs and things like that. But we want to make it really clear we're not trying to, use the veterans to make a lot of money, because that's certainly not the case. We'll be donating most of our time and just covering some of our expenses. But again, most of the money will go to the vets. And now I'd like to bring in Rob Robar, who's over in my old neck of the woods. I'm originally from Grand Rapids, and he's over there visiting family for Easter, I believe. Right, Rob?
Yep, kind of have the whole time here.
And so Rob was on the show, I don't know, a month or 6 weeks ago, I guess. And so that's how I got to know him. And certainly his name of his company is true. Rob is really a really nice guy. He really wants to help people. And I introduced him to Anton, and they're working together on some stuff. But let's talk a little bit about I know it's very early and we're still working out the details, but let's talk a little bit about what you envision as your participation for the Helping Friendly Hemp Company.
Well, I think a lot of it for us would be really to be able to offer support, really. A lot of the things that, Anton hit on, a lot of the things with anxieties and things like that. And, I'm a chronic pain person. I've lived nearly, 20, 30 years of my life with issues, and having all those things kind of build up on you, and you have, things creep in. So, I identify with 90, a lot of what somebody would, anticipate or have when, dealing with PTSD and those types of issues. Now I've never served, and I will never understand any of that. As far as serving, but my family has, and we've had lots of family members who do. So I think it's important for us as people just to simply give back. And we've always, about a year ago, we started a discount program for disabled veterans and disabled of all types, low income and the whole thing, to help offer people a good 40% off of what our retail prices are, just to help out with their normal days. Because if they find success in our products, we want them to be able to, afford it. It's always been something for us,
Now, you already have a lot of products. I know you and Anton have been chatting briefly. I know you haven't had a real thorough discussion, but you have products already that would help with anxiety and things like that, right?
Yeah, a lot of people take the tinctures and things like that and have flour. I anticipate, we had talked a little bit about maybe some kind of ratio products are our next real thing, with things as far as like Delta 8 and trying to, it's completely legal, because that's what our products are when it comes to Delta 8, when it comes to formulations and being within total THC concentrations and all that. So for us to be able to mess more with ratio products in that spectrum would be our next real thing, is what we've already started on. And I think it makes a nice segue into what we're kind of trying to do here, and, assign a couple of these products for that. And, maybe even I was thinking a lot about some of the hemp flower strains that we have and things like that, a specific migraine heavy one like we had talked about, Anton, and, things like that that might be more beneficial to people in just, overall products,
All right. If Jamie or Rick want to come in, I'm sure you probably have questions or comments, so feel free to do so. And you too as well, Anton. And you don't have to. I have a dashboard across the top, so I can see everybody's muted. So weigh in whenever you'd like. So.
Rob, there's a push out there to potentially criminalize Delta 8 and sort of take that entire segment of the hemp cannabis industry kind of off the shelf, so to speak, and put it exclusively into the retail stores. If that were to happen, would that affect your ability to provide cannabis and Delta 8 products to the veterans?
So far, we'll have to see, to be honest with you, because while there is a lot of talk about it, and there has been a lot of things nationally as far as some store raids, smoke shop raids and stuff like that down south in very conservative areas. Those people have seemed to have taken a much, kind of like Michigan did at one point way back when with CBD. Is it this or is it that? As far as Michigan goes, it obviously there might be some, I haven't seen too much of myself on it as far as movement wise, but I've also seen, we have some of our dispensary partners, didn't want to carry those products because their lawyers, wanted to steer clear of it. But we've also have letters from the MRA to specific groups stating that they have no issue with it. So, we'll see how it plays out in the end, I guess.
Yeah, and Rob, let's just assume that people didn't see you on the show here a month or 6 weeks ago. Talk a little bit about what you guys do, and you really have a very big national footprint, don't you?
Yeah, we're, we started about in 2017. We're a, hemp CBD. I don't usually like using the term CBD because we're a hemp company. We sell all products that are hemp, all the cannabinoids and things like that. As far as it goes, yeah, we offer lots of different products, topicals, tinctures, soft chews, those types of items, ranging from broad spectrum, full spectrum, Delta 8, which is like we were just talking about, kind of the hot button right now. And it's also become, very beneficial, I think, and that's kind of where we're at with Delta 8, to be honest with you. Any product we release in Delta 8, we don't want it to be about, strictly getting high. Because there's wellness with all that. So just to circle back on that a little bit, because it is a topic right now. But as far as other products go, yeah, we have lots of different things to offer for all different types of things, really.
And you're in 40 or 50 provisioning centers in Michigan, and I think you said 1,000 or so nationwide.
Yeah, at least 1,000. And right now we're just entered into a national distribution deal with a very large distributor who has basically tripled our footprint basically within a matter of weeks.
Wow.
And so it's really ramping up very quickly. It's kind of crazy right now, and trying to stay on top of all the various things that are changing and the different, things that are happening with hemp as a whole, the licensing things and that, hopefully we're be down the curb down here a little bit too, and just have our THC products too eventually.
Yeah. So are you hiring right now if you're expanding rapidly?
Not at this very second, but probably not too far off. That'll be one thing. We're at the point now where we have to start looking for a bigger building to basically house all this of what's happening here. Mostly the store product and, some of the manufacturing and stuff that goes on that we do there with, pre-rolls and that type of thing.
Sure. Now, I can't recall, do you grow your own or do you buy from a grower?
No, we buy from other licensed processors and handlers and growers throughout, Michigan and throughout the country as well.
Sure. Okay. Pretty exciting times for you. You have to be one of the bigger.
There's so much going on right now. It's very mind-boggling, actually, from where we started with it. And I started in really 2015 or so. in my kitchen making this product, the salve, the Helping Friendly salve, and it didn't even have a name at the time. And then it was basically went from beyond there. So it's now, like I said, in Michigan, well over 40 some, just, the provisioning centers, lots of the partners as they grow, keep bringing us into each one of the locations. So it's been very good that way. So it's been nice. It's kind of finding the gambit and having the opportunity to help out with, bring that hero project thing and anything we can do to help, people's awareness of everything, and help contribute would be great for us.
Yeah, absolutely. And hopefully within by the end of April, we'll get everything all worked out. We're building, it's like, we're building the airplane as we're flying it. So we're building the website right now. We've got a basic site there at heroprojectusa.org, which is more of a brochure site right now. We haven't got, I just shot a video of Anton. I'm going to shoot a video of Rob. We're going to put those kinds of elements into the website so the people that are participating can explain why they're doing so and how they hope to help veterans. So we'll get all that together by the end of April, we hope. But in the meantime, if people want to have basic information, we have an FAQ up on the site which kind of explains what we're up to. And, of course, we encourage anybody else out there, provisioning centers that want to work with Rob or not, but certainly want to work with the Hero Project. And then also other veterans groups, other veterans charities. We encourage them to reach out to us. We want to make this as wide as possible and have the biggest impact as possible. So I see Jamie and Rick are unmuted. You guys want to got some questions?
Go ahead.
I want to give some major kudos to Rob because he's built a really great brand. He gives back to the community. He is a part of the community, and some of his products, I've had the honor of trying some of the Delta 8 gummies, but I especially love the topical that he has on the market. It's definitely the best out there. And I introduced it to my mother last month, and actually her and my aunt hijacked my bottle of topical that I took to Texas with me, and it was amazing. But I just love seeing loved ones, benefit from some of the products that we have and that Rob has.
Yeah, I always like hearing mom stories and grandma stories and everything like that. It's really what drives us, because all of our parents and grandparents, everybody, they all use it, and it's been, when I first started posting on Facebook about cannabis, when I stopped really caring about what work might say, before I was doing all this kind of thing, it was just like leading people to this thing of basic conversation of it, normalizing the conversation of it. And topicals are such a great way because I live on them. And that's really the most immediate way that most people's pain, not everybody's, but a lot of people's pain is really that, ache, and a lot of it can be really minimized. I can't say, stops or saves, but I know what it does for me, and I know what a lot of other people have said that it does for them. And being able to treat themselves, everybody's searching for that thing that's not, being pushed by big pharma.
Yeah, you kind of remind me a little bit of that old commercial about Hair Club for Men. I'm not only the president, but I'm a user, right? So
yeah. One of our taglines is products born out of necessity. And that's really where the salve came from. It was just a way of treating myself and not wanting to hurt all the time, Yeah. And then when it worked, it was other people tried it because I just started making it and I had it. And then all of a sudden the word spread, and lots of MS patients using it in the early days. And they're what fueled me, because I had my own issues. I know my own things. I know all my day to day. And but when you hear other people and how they're affected, just like, people's parents and stuff like that, because all our parents are taking much more medications, as they go on, even my mom, she's been able to, reduce the amount of things that she was taking, for anxiety and things like that, and just taking the tincture, and for years wouldn't use it because I've been selling for 2-3 years, and she finally got a doctor who said, yeah, it's cool.
Well, So, Anton, I know you've experimented with different things as a veteran with disabilities and other issues. What has been working for you?
Well, I try and take kind of a multifaceted approach. For me, I'm a flower guy. I love good flower. I love the cultivation of the flower. And I find a lot of my relief comes from just regular old bud. However, I try and, add an edible in there to get some of that longer term relief. And then I use CBD first thing in the morning. It's kind of like you take it with my cup of coffee, so to speak. And I find that when I blend the products, if necessary, if I'm still hurting, I may take a hit off of a vape pen, depending. So I really just keep it symptomatic. If I feel my body needs it, I take it.
I've talked to veterans for years regarding cannabis use, and oftentimes, much like lupus patients, the ailments that they have are varied. Oftentimes, we need dreamless sleep. Sometimes we need help with anxiety and social situations. Sometimes it's about pain relief for the entire body. Sometimes it's about pain relief for a specific area. Being aligned with someone like Robert, who can get you a variety of different products, hopefully to match up with some of the most persistent problems that veterans have, that's got to be a huge relief. You probably are associated with a lot of vets that have, ailments that many people in the normal community probably wouldn't have.
A lot of the elements, you're 100% correct. Like for me personally, I suffered from post-traumatic stress, but even just like stomach issues and a lot of symptoms kind of similar to like how a lupus patient or kind of how a rheumatoid arthritis patient may react. It's the same for veterans. And we need to be careful too with the products that we market, because you have veterans who are looking for that relief and they have no experience with a THC product. And the last thing we want to do is pump a veteran with THC and then have them, have the paranoia set in or anxiety set in. So it's kind of a balancing act. And if we really focus on the different ailments within the veteran community, I think we could come up with a product that would be more targeted or more suited towards folks with those types of issues.
And that's the beauty of really what's happening now with all the, the different cannabinoid therapies, to be honest with you.
We have a variety of veterans in Michigan that have been using cannabis for a long time that have some experience, including Michael Tuffelmeyer, who's a big guy in Grand Rapids and has been around for quite some time doing cannabis law reform work, very active with veterans charities. He's a great resource to talk to, and also can open some doors for you within the regulated marketplace. He's a big guy in the West Michigan Cannabis Guild. I know Jamie's involved with that also. But we have a lot of resources within our existing community to be able to bring to bear, Anton, to help veterans, really navigate the kind of minefield that sometimes cannabis can be for people who are not familiar with the product.
I'm excited to hear you say that. It sounds like there are resources within the state. It's just that the veterans don't know about them, so to speak. So if we could bring a lot of these things to light, and veterans, we want that information. We deal with the VA a lot, and you're dealing with different organizations and whatnot. And once we know the resources are there, people will use them. So that's exciting to hear. Hopefully we can get some veterans out there into the licensing space. If we can get them on the social equity list, that might open up a whole slew of opportunities that our veteran community will be able to take advantage of.
And we don't have a precise number. We've done some preliminary research, and we've identified hundreds of thousands of veterans here in the state of Michigan, not personally, but as a group. And so many of them are Vietnam veterans, so we have a lot of those. And I think Anton was saying one of the reasons that we have so many here is because we have such good medical facilities in Michigan for veterans. I believe, did I misquote you on that, Anton?
The Ann Arbor VA has always been successful. I've always had good experiences. We have U of M right there, so you're dealing with a lot of U of M doctors. Detroit could be hit or miss, just to be honest with you. I've had good experiences and I've had some very bad experiences. But the one thing I can assure you is they are all hostile towards cannabis use. 100%. That is the one thing you can 100% bet on within the medical care facilities and just the community itself. So it's a shame, but it's the truth.
Well,
that's why
certainly in
we've
education. I'm sorry, Rick. Go ahead.
I'm just going to say it's one of the reasons why we've developed such good, strong connections within our own community is because the traditional medical system didn't want anything to do with us, and bonding together with our brothers was the only way that we could deliver help to
For
people who
sure.
really need it.
It'll be interesting. I've talked about, I want to do some things, getting just as simple as getting seeds out to veterans who are looking to grow, or even, I was at one point thinking about going down towards downtown around the Detroit VA. I'd love to do a pre-roll handout to veterans. You get a lot of homeless veterans that that'd make their day. Just little acts of kindness within our community that bring about gestures of, progressive kindness, if you will. That's what I want to see. And I'd like to see cannabis involved, because for us, it's not just about product. It's about community. It's about culture. Some of the best friends I've ever made have been over a joint. And I cherish those moments. And I feel that if we can bring more of those moments to a larger population of veterans, we wouldn't have 22 veterans a day committing suicide. We could do some real good here.
It's a shocking number,
sure.
but it's totally true. Gosh.
Jamie, do you have anything?
Yeah, and veterans are on the forefront here in Michigan. I mean, we have $20 million of our tax revenue going to do some research on cannabis and how it can be used for veterans. So, I feel like there's a massive opportunity in that here in Michigan. And so, Anton, thank you so much for the work that you're doing, and how would you suggest, what steps do veterans need to take to get more involved in those conversations? And especially, some of them, we could use them talking to some of the communities and increasing accessibility throughout our state.
Jamie, those are such good points. Really, I would say getting the word out. So promotion and letting people know that these resources exist. And number two, trying to create that environment that's going to bring veterans out of their shells, so to speak. We want veterans to come and feel comfortable, and oftentimes they do not. Even if you want to look at just the licensing space, it's a minefield, and veterans simply don't have the resources or sometimes the willpower to take these challenges on. And I feel that if we present these opportunities, those challenges, those hurdles are going to be overcome, and we're going to get folks that are going to come out of their shells and really change their lives, so to speak. And I feel like just getting our licensed community involved, you're right, the $20 million is exciting. I want to learn more about it. I want to make sure, when we talk research, I mean, if you look at federal research, I believe I just read something the other day, Dr. Sue Sisley did a study, and it looked for veterans with post-traumatic stress disorder, and it looked like it didn't help. And if you read further, you can see, well, they were supplied weed grown at the university of wherever by the federal government. We're not providing medicine. We're setting them up for failure. So
really super low grade.
Yeah, I want that research money to go towards quality medicine to get quality results.
And it's not even hemp, the stuff that they give you either. You know what I mean? Where it's like high in CBD, it's just junk.
No result. You're not going to get any results. Of course, it's not going to work. You're not actually giving somebody the product, the medication that they need. It's like giving somebody a blood pressure medication that doesn't have any medicine in it. So
it's like many of the studies of nicotine and stuff like that, how you're not allowed to study like benefits of certain things. You're only allowed to because it's controlled or whatever, study the negative sides of things. That's the only thing that's funding goes to at this, current time.
Yeah, the one thing I'm uncomfortable with, I'll tell you, like when I speak to veterans, is we've gotten to a point to where we have accepted not having a voice. We have been beaten down by agencies like the VA. We have been beaten down, and when I say beaten down, there's just so many challenges involved to get medical care or to get the resources that you deserve. And, part of my thing is getting that, we're not asking anymore to have these products. We're demanding, and it's getting that cultural that everybody's getting together and we're getting that one voice. We're going to see changes hopefully in these regulations.
Yeah. for
Well,
sure.
hopefully, we're not sure. I know the Biden administration seems to be kind of lukewarm on the whole idea. I was reading a story just recently where he wants to do certain things like decriminalize marijuana usage nationally and a few things like that, but not all out. Yes, we love marijuana. We're going to encourage the VA to use it, sort of thing. He's just not going to go that far, I don't think. Now, he may have a lot of public pressure on him and change his mind, but that seems to be where the situation is right now. I know, Rick, you track that real closely. Would you agree?
I would. And it's a real trap to just reschedule cannabis. When you take it from Schedule 1 and drop it on Schedule 2 or Schedule 3, you're still denying access, and you're still leaving criminal penalties in place for people that utilize cannabis, and you're still giving VA doctors the excuse that they want to be able to deny access to veterans for significant health beneficial cannabis products, including even CBD, Delta 8, all of those things. They don't make the differentiation between hemp and cannabis products. They lump everything that even has a smidge of THC together in the same thing. And it really disadvantages the individual veteran, even though the industry has proven on many occasions that there are medical uses and that there is a difference between the different types of cannabis. Some, should maybe be still under scrutiny to a certain degree, and some really shouldn't. I can't imagine any VA doctor that knows what they're talking about interfering with someone trying to take CBD, for crying out loud. Pro athletes take CBD. We sell CBD in Kroger. Why would you interfere with that?
CVS.
I consider hear veterans say things like, I can't even take CBD and admit it to my doctor. How horrible.
And that's the biggest inequity that I can see, access and just the hostility that you get. But there's so many other inequities built into this whole scenario. For example, veterans that want to get a job within the cannabis industry, you can't get a VA home loan. The one benefit that every veteran should have access to cannot get a VA home loan. They can't get a small business administers special loans that disabled veterans have access to. And if they want to get involved with CBD or anything in the industry, they don't have access to those resources. So there's a conversation that needs to take place. You have veterans that are homeless that can benefit from a lot of this, the money coming in the door with the $20 million. We could take a portion of that and clear up homeless veterans issues within our state. So access it's one portion, but it's so huge. So hopefully we can get to the bottom of it eventually.
Yep. The industry is broad, and to limit opportunities both on an employment and on an ownership level in a way that excludes veterans or people that rely on VA services in any way for their health and wellness, that's a disservice to the freedom that we tried to accomplish with the legalization of cannabis. We want legalization for everybody, not just for people that the government doesn't think, doesn't have something to say over.
Yeah.
Ridiculous.
So in Michigan, I know obviously adult use is legal here and all that, but there's still the federal issues outstanding. How are things doing in Michigan? Are we more progressive, say, than other states, or less, or how would you rank all that?
I feel Michigan, and I've lived I've lived on East Coast to West Coast, all over the country, and Michigan. We hold our veterans at an arm's length. The benefits that they provide, such as our tax break on our homes and some of the other resources that they offer to veterans, we accept them and we're grateful for them. And they're great. The 100% tax exemption that we give to 100% disabled veterans is a benefit that a lot of states do not have. But we're not, this is the beauty of what I'm doing now is this is the first time anyone's taking an interest in asking me my opinion in all these years. And I'm 100% disabled, and it's been a real ride. So just giving me this voice has bettered the situation. And I feel Michigan is in a place to take this to the next level and be a model for the rest of the country, to be perfectly honest with you.
Well, we've actually done a good job of stepping back from doing minor prosecutions for things like possession or for child protective services issues. I talked to Mike Nichols. I talked to a Michigan cannabis defender, Josh Covert, the other day. And he talked about how, and that was a person who was the most active involved in child protective services issues in cannabis in the state. He said hardly any calls. And when veterans see that the state is not messing with people for simple things like that, maybe they're a little, their cautions come down a little bit. Maybe they're more likely to be experimental with some cannabis things too. But again, there's always that specter of losing your federal benefits hanging over your head.
There's a lot of things with veterans that I think sometimes gets lost a little bit. Mostly, and this is not to go one down a rabbit hole, but like NRA, like a lot of veterans own weapons, and that's a concern of them of why they won't even touch it. I mean, they might not even care that something's happened with whatever. It's just that the government come on, it's just the don't take my gun, versus whatever. And I think that kind of plays a little bit into it. And I've always wondered why like groups don't come off on them saying, listen, it's not about that.
Well, under federal law, you have veterans out there, we fought for this country. We were trained with these weapons. As far as responsibility goes, we accepted that a long time ago. And not only, if you're a cannabis user, you cannot possess. At the federal level, they will lock you up. You know what I mean? And that's a sad that we don't even allow the folks that fought for this country, who used these weapons, to possess a firearm. So that goes for not just veterans, frankly, that goes for everybody. But it's something that it should be on the forefront of getting changed.
Yeah, it's just one thing I've noticed over the years. It's always been like, why? And because I've had the conversation. I was a bud tender many years ago in a place, in the old days. And that was one of the common things you get, it's reasons why people don't want to do things. And, that's the one thing about the hemp products as a whole. You get so many different people who are from outside of cannabis who never, had anything to do with it. Policemen and stuff like that who run to use things, who, I can, but it's how you got to play it,
Yeah, John McLeod who helped start Cloud Cannabis is I'm not sure if he's disabled, but he was a former Detroit police officer who used CBDs and whatnot because he was using opioids originally because that's what they prescribed for him, and he's another one of those. Gosh, I started using it and thought, well, heck, let's start a business around it. So. But we're talking to John about joining our group as well because he's really interested. It's. I think a lot of it's just education. All that reefer madness crap from the 1930s still carries over for a lot of people, particularly people my age. Baby boomer. And it's funny, the baby boomers are the biggest users now. But a lot of them that are in positions of authority. For one reason or another, I didn't inhale in college. You're right, I really accept that, right? So, it's just education, and I think it's slowly changing, but we got a long ways to go, that's for sure.
Yep, society resists change, and we're trying to force a big change on people that, are not easy to switch their minds. Remember, the war on drugs was the biggest public relations scheme ever perpetrated on the face of the earth. And you can't fault people who really, really fell hard for it because it was quite convincing. They made very good arguments. And it's unfortunate, but we just have to accept the fact some people's minds are not going to be changed. Our society skews towards having older people in positions of lawmaking and authority, which means our lawmaking is always going to lag behind societal acceptance. But I think we're pushing the issue. And when we start featuring, we had success in Michigan to a certain degree when we talked about pediatric patients using cannabis. We've had success in Michigan talking about elderly people and even hospice workers. Catherine Graham talks about hospice workers all the time, and veterans with cannabis as well. When we talk about one of the most sympathetic groups of people in our society, disabled veterans, who doesn't have sympathy for a disabled vet? So those are voices that, when heard, they carry weight. Does that make sense?
Oh, absolutely.
For sure.
There's a lot of weight, I think, behind that. You're 100% correct. the struggles and the things that I have seen with veterans, that cannabis, I don't say it's fixed, but we're looking for relief here. People that are struggling with these issues, we've run out of options. There's no other options to go. It's either the devil's weed or the pills. And our Western approach to the way we think about these ailments, I think in the end is harming us. And it is about perception. And I think perception, especially within the veterans community, because we're always somehow tied to the federal government. I worked for the federal government a long, long time. And but somehow we carry with us that need to serve, and it's bad. Marijuana was always bad to do or to talk about, and to get it out there, and when veterans actually see that it does do good, again, it's changing perception, just as you said.
Okay, everybody have any final thoughts before we go into our shameless plug segment?
Look, right now it's easier than ever to form alliances within the cannabis industry. There's some money floating around. The industry is on a big uptick as far as success potential. And there are some folks that are still charity minded in the way that they do business. This is a great time to get in on developing an organization, especially one that does work that's so clearly needed as what you've articulated today, Anton. And Rob, thanks for helping out. I really, truly wish you the best of success, and hopefully I'll be able to help and contribute in some way to that.
Yeah, we'll put the bite on your back. Don't worry about that. So, all right. So Anton's the newbie on the show. Rob's been on this before. So this is what we call the shameless plug. It's a carryover from my Monday show. And so what you get to talk about is whatever you want. However, people can reach out to you, whatever you want to push. You get about a minute or two to do it. So take it away, Anton.
Well, if anyone wants to contact me, you can contact me at michiganvcn@gmail.com. And that'll come directly to me. We also have our Facebook group, the Michigan Veterans for Cannabis Network. I encourage anybody to come sign up and see what we're doing. Any licensees who would like to collaborate, we're trying to get facilities set up so we can do veteran meetups at either provisioning centers or at cultivation centers. We're looking, as far as donating the space, maybe some time to just come out and explain what you're doing to the veterans. The more I think this is the power and our voice in this whole scenario is going to come from our network, and our network needs to be supported, and the support is already coming in from every angle. And I just want to kind of show that the veterans, we can be a part of the industry without working for it, that we can benefit from this wonderful culture that we've built. And we're going to do our best. We're just going to let this grow. I'm going to see where it goes. It's kind of I'm just kind of letting things flow, so to speak. But I will respond if anybody wants any insight on how these products may help a vet, or if you want to talk to a group of vets, I'll set that up too. But I encourage everybody to reach out.
All right, thanks, Anton. Rob, you're next.
Well, as far as the pitch, I don't know. We got lots of stuff going on, like we talked about before. Lots of stuff happening here so you got the Sensi magazine gift bag giveaway. So we got 1,000 pre-roll tubes going in there. So that's 2,000 pre-rolls actually, because there's 2 in a tube.
Jamie worked
hemp
you hard
CBD.
then, right? So
what's that?
Jamie worked you hard then, right?
Yeah, well, trying to take advantage of all those things. Honestly, it's really what it is. And if anybody wants to understand how to help grow a brand, and it's not really just about growing, like this thing isn't really about that at all, but it's a way for us to help out and give back, because we are benefiting right now. Like Rick kind of said, things are kind of on the upswing, and
yeah,
we've always been searching for something to help give a little bit back in and continue to help it, to see something go beyond it, and if we can help it grow with our national exposure down the road, that'd be something I think would be really fantastic for everybody involved, really.
Why don't you give your website address, and if you want to give up your email, because there may be some folks out there, distributors or provisioning centers, that want to work with you that may not have been aware of you before the show. So give that information.
Yeah. The website is thehelpingfriendlysalve.com. And also my email is rob@thehelpingfriendlysalve.com. So if anybody has any interest in that, we can definitely, talk more later about anything you need to know about.
And you're in Royal Oak, right?
We're located, the headquarters is in Madison Heights.
Oh, Madison Heights. I knew you somewhere in that vicinity.
It's pretty much the same thing in my opinion.
Yeah,
I'm from
right.
Waterford, so when you start talking like Madison, there is a difference, obviously, economics and those kind of things, but
It's like
the
Barton
houses
Hills
are
in
just
Ann Arbor,
huger.
right? So.
Yeah, no. I always say once you hit past Birmingham, it's all kind of a blur to me. It all kind of starts blending in.
Yeah, one big city. So
I lived here all my life around these areas. So.
Yeah. So our West Michigan representative there, Jamie Cooper, I'm curious, where does your provisioning center stand that you're going to be opening in Grand Haven? Is that moving along now, or where?
Yeah, so we are at the final end of our municipal process. So we've gone in front of the Planning Commission a couple of times, went in front of the City Council a couple of times because we had to rezone our property. And then now we're back in front of the Planning Commission for our site plan review on April 9th, I think. And then we should have a permit to start building. And then we got to go through the building process, which, was a lot of fun. So hopefully the end of this year, that's my hope. But I think we've all been in this industry long enough to know that things don't ever happen on time like we think they will.
Takes twice as long and twice as much money. Yes. So.
Yeah. So.
Good. And then, you got your event at 6:00. Let's go ahead and promote that.
Yeah. So anyone that is interested in being involved in the cannabis business community, please go to connects.cincymag.com. Join our online network. It's free. It doesn't take you very long to set up a profile. And then in that network, you will see we have different communities built out. One of those communities is called the Michigan Industry Networking Community. In there, under events, you will find tonight's event and every week's events, and then some. And we're going to continue hosting events. We have our golf tournament slated for May 28th. We have Canna Cantina slated for June 18th. And I am itching. I can't wait until we finally have another Cincy night where we are, throwing this amazing event between our industry and the consumers. So fingers crossed, they keep rolling out that vaccine and we keep seeing, expansion in terms of our events. I think we all have missed each other and can't wait to see each other face to face again.
Yeah, I was mentioning before we got started, I've got lockdown fever. I just can't wait to get out of this place, So and I get my second shot on the 9th. And hopefully a few weeks after that, I'll be able to start to mingle again and go to some of my favorite haunts. Rick, you're up next.
Of course, catch us at the virtual Hash Bash on April 3rd, this Saturday. Broadcast begins at noon. So many ways you can enjoy that through the Roku channel on your television or through Twitch broadcast at A2 Hash Bash channel or Facebook at the Ann Arbor Hash Bash page. Many different ways to enjoy it. Of course, Jazz Cabbage Cafe from 4 to 6 p.m. We were still in the middle of an important series of interviews with people who have been incarcerated, who have been released from incarceration. And we just had last week a very significant interview with the family and friends of Leonard Peltier, who's possibly one of the longest serving Native Americans in prison. And that guy may never get out. And it's just a sad situation, and you can certainly take a look at our show to see that. But in addition to that, Michigan Normal is just cranking up. So is Redemption Foundation. The world has got lots of opportunities for people who want to do good things, and I encourage everyone to get out and do some of that this summer.
Yeah, amen to that, brother, I'll tell you. So I'm Mike Brennan. I'm editor of Michigan Marijuana Report. You can find us at mimarijuanareport.com. Also produce this show with the help of Rick and Jamie. And in fact, we were talking to Jamie before the show. The news came up about Flourish starting their cannabis accelerator in Grand Rapids. So I'm going to see if she can get that together for us for next week's show, because I think that would be a really good idea for other cities around the state to have something very similar to that. And then, of course, I'm on the team for the Hero Project, which we just announced today. It's still in the formative stages. We're hoping that within the next 30 days we'll get everything locked down, a lot of paperwork and everything else, a lot of deals to cut. But again, we're going to try to help the veterans as best we can, people like Anton, and give him a soapbox to stand on to make sure to demand that his rights be served.